I'm Smriti Gandhi, Executive Editor, ISMG. I am happy to be here with a fresh new engagement series called the CIO Inc., a new global brand where we intend to speak to technology leaders, innovators, CIOs, CDOs, and CTOs on how they are harnessing the power of technology to create a more responsive business ecosystem. I have with me today Dr. Osakwe, who is an award winning technology professional, writer, and author. His core competence is in cybersecurity, IT governance, IT strategy, and risk management. In June 2022, Dr. Fane was invited into the exclusive Forbes Technology Council, an invitation only community for world class CIOs, CTOs, and technology executives, making him one of the few persons to make it to the Tech Council in their 30s. Currently, he is the Director Group IT and GRC at IHS Towers, Nigeria. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Smriti.
Pleasure to have you. Without much ado, let me move straight jump into the question. I already stated that in the start. You're a part of the Forbes Technology Council as one of its youngest members. Could you give us your background in short?
Okay, thank you. So background, I have a very humble background. I was born in southern Nigeria, and then I have a bachelor's of technology degree from the university in southwest Nigeria. Started my professional career with Deloitte as a penetration tester. So I did that for maybe close to 50, 60, multinational companies in different parts of the world. I was also, so you talk about youngest, I was also the youngest board member of ISACA, which is the biggest professional body for, for security and risk and IT control professionals in the world. I was like a board member in my 20s. And then, I always just had the vision of being a global cybersecurity and IT technology, information technology leader. So coming to Forbes, yes, I was, even before Forbes, or rather after Forbes, I was recognized 2 weeks ago as Africa's most sought after cybersecurity advisor from Hayden's magazine, in the US. So, and I was privileged to be accepted into Forbes Council, like you said, one of the few under 40. And I also, do a lot of advisory for boards and tech companies.
My congratulations should not stop here. I think, this is amazing. You visualized, you had a vision, and there you are. I'm so privileged to be talking to you. Thank you so much.
I'm privileged to talk to you too.
Okay. You're from Africa, and Africa is considered to be one of the strongest growth centers of this century. How would you assess the technology adoption in Africa, especially in the business segment?
Okay, so to be honest, it started very slow. Okay, so about 10 years ago, Apple was already worth about $499 billion. We didn't really have a tech company in Africa at this point, and Apple was already in hundreds of billions. But in the last 5 years, I think there has been a technology explosion in Africa, just because we have several challenges in Africa, and on the flip side of challenges is opportunity. So I think people have begun to recognize those opportunities, across different channels, investment vehicles, regulatory reporting, things like that. And in the last 5 to 6 years, there has really been exponential growth. Presently, I think we have, 6 years ago, we had no unicorn from a tech perspective. But right now, we have about 7 tech startups in Africa that are worth over $1 billion. And according to a report from, an African tech and fintech report from Renaissance Capital, their figures are that just in the first quarter of 2022, tech startups in Nigeria raised over $500 million. So that is a lot. And that really just speaks to the technology adoption in Africa.
Yeah, this 500, the report says it all. You don't even have to, think over it. So then what is the uptick, in cloud security and digital technologies? You spoke about how you also look at cybersecurity. So what about that?
Okay, so cloud. So I spoke a bit about digital already. So let's talk about cloud and cybersecurity. So in cloud, For cloud, really, most companies really were a lot on-prem. Okay, so what you have now is a bit of a hybrid situation in a lot of companies, simply because there is that migration. But because of the legacy issues, you still have companies having sort of a hybrid situation where some parties on-prem, some parties on cloud. Um, and just because of the costs to move to the cloud, not every single company in Africa is able to afford it. So, so the hybrid situation is really what I see a lot. For cybersecurity, I would say it's same old game for different players, right? But what has changed really is there's a lot more of government regulation and trying to create some sort of laws and governance around cyber, and sort of demanding companies to meet some minimum cybersecurity requirements. But I mean, it's still the same thing. Phishing is still the most prevalent method, albeit a bit adaptive now, but it's still the most prevalent method, of hackers or malicious people trying to get access to organizations. And digital tech, like I said, is being used to solve business problems.
Digital tech, earlier was about, nice to have in organizations, and now it has moved post the pandemic to, as we call it, a must have. And so has cybersecurity. I think the importance has increased, tenfold. So, when we talk about technology solutions, what type of technology solutions and innovations do you advise technology leaders to implement in the new normal?
So, one step back. So I am always very careful about, just saying, hey guys, go implement solution A, B, C, D, okay? Because it has gotten people into trouble. I am careful not to talk about security solutions implementation in isolation of your IT strategy, okay? And your IT strategy cannot be in isolation of the business strategy. Now, the research has shown that one of the top reasons, actually the number 2 reason why CIOs get fired, is because of failed projects. And many times it's simply because while you thought you were aligned with the business in January, the business is so fast-paced now that if you just kept a January decision or alignment, this is August now, it may just no longer be where the business is headed. And so you're implementing a solution to align to the business in January, and the business has moved. And by August, it's no longer relevant. So you need to have a structure in place that helps you have consistent alignments, steering committees and things like that. But one thing I would say is, so it needs to be specific to your business. Your solutions need to tie to your IT strategy, and that needs to tie to the business strategy. But of course, it needs to address pain points. And so generally, whatever you are implementing now needs to support remote working, it needs to support hybrid working, it needs to support secure communication, there needs to be proper data protection requirements built into whatever security, whatever solutions don't have the security, whatever solutions you are implementing now, it needs to meet minimum data protection requirements, and then it also needs to drive active collaboration. We are having this conversation across, I'm not sure how many countries we are passing right now, right? So it needs to support active collaboration. And I would say, implement technology that supports your IT strategy, that drives the business strategy.
What you said about the IT strategy driving the business strategy, I think, people have realized it, and that's why CIOs and the CISOs are now, becoming a part of the boardroom decisions, which earlier they were not. So I think the pandemic, for some reason, has done good to the CIOs and the CISOs, is what I believe. They're getting their real value by becoming a part of the boardroom.
Okay.
Yeah. You have a great deal of exposure in cybersecurity also, and won accolades for that also. According to you, what are the top 2 or 3 cybersecurity governance and risk management challenges for the African enterprises? And to add to that, what is the preparedness of the enterprises to deal with this?
So preparedness, varies in different sectors in Africa, to be honest. We have a very regulated financial service and not so regulated in other sectors. So for example, hospitality, healthcare is not as regulated as the financial sector. So it sort of speaks to the culture. So you care a lot about my money, but you don't care too much about my health records, right? So it's not as regulated. So there needs to be a lot more done in that respect. But challenges. So let me mention 2 or 3 like you asked. So the first is the same global problem, talent. So talent is a challenge when it comes to cybersecurity governance and risk management. Just because what the pandemic did was break the walls in terms of the demand for your talent. So previously, if you were in South Africa, pretty much only the South African market was going to reach out to you for a job. Now, you are in London and Sweden and Dubai and the US, they're reaching out to you for your skills. So all of a sudden, your talent is at risk from the entire world all of a sudden. So that's one challenge. The second part with regards to the talent part is the skills gap, okay? So in cybersecurity, it is so easy to assume that you are a cybersecurity expert simply because you can operate a security tool. There's a difference between being a cybersecurity expert and being a tool administrator. So a lot of times when you drill down with these people in interviews, and I sit on this a lot, and different companies reach out to me several times to say, hey, we need talent in XYZ place. You find out that this person understands a security solution, but is not a cybersecurity expert. That's one. The second part is, the second challenge is there's the compliance is security illusion in some places. That simply because I have complied with the government laws and I have ticked all the boxes, then I'm secure. Well, if you do your research, you find out that a lot of the companies that get breached globally, they are compliant with all the laws too. And the last one is one that, breaks my heart personally, because it's down to the SMEs, the small and medium enterprise. They do not have the funds for a lot of these cybersecurity solutions. And the challenge is a lot of these solutions, they do not have scaled down versions for these people. These solutions are, you need to pretty much spend top dollar to get them. So we leave the SMEs, which really at the end of the day are the drivers of most of the economies in Africa. We sort of leave them vulnerable. So those would be my top, those would be my top 3 challenges.
Okay. I like the, when you spoke about the top 3, which included your talent and skill, you're very focused on that, the compliance, and obviously, the SMEs not prepared and not ready for the cybersecurity exposure. So, I will not take much of your time, and in the paucity of time, my one last question to you, we spoke about the challenges for the Africa. What are the key opportunities that you see for Africa in general in the digital transformation space? And could you give us some specific examples of how some digital solutions are solving bigger problems and challenges of the African citizens or organizations?
Okay, so that's a lot. Let's see. Let's see how we unpack this. So let's talk a bit about the opportunity. So I think I already spoke about the health sector in Africa and the fact that if we could have half the regulations and the governance we are having in the financial sector, just half of it in the health sector, maturity will go up a lot, okay? But the truth is, technology has actually affected and changed the lives of a lot of people in Africa. 5 years ago, I had to go to the banking hall for anything I wanted to do. I mean, I haven't been to the banking hall in the last 2 years, okay, simply because that entire process has been automated. And that's thanks to technology. Let's talk at the government level, okay? Now, we have different election years in different countries in Africa, and in Nigeria, where I'm from, we have it every 4 years. So in 2019, for example, I had to go register for my voter's card and all this type of things on queues and all over the place. Now online, I could just do all of that and get it sorted. So they've done some good digital stuff with in that regard. Not saying they've done enough, but they started. So other things are, so another example, electricity bill. So bill for electricity. So growing up and even early years, it used to be such an ordeal to go pay for your electricity bill. Now you just send an SMS to some number, and you have smart meters, and you get a token, and from the comfort of your home, you load your meter, and you pretty much can run your life now in a lot of big cities in Africa from your home. Okay, but I still think, like I said, there's still a couple of things to do. I think we really could do a lot more around automation from around our elections. I mean, way back in school, this was almost 10 years ago. I did a project on automating the entire electoral process from thumb readers all the way to showing it on a dashboard that this is the election in real time. As you thumb print, it goes to the dashboard in real time. Fine, there are infrastructure issues and things like that, but I think that is how we should gradually start thinking to automate the entire process. I also think that healthcare is important. We need to begin to value medical records of people. And I think that the general quality of service and support around these technologies and governance also needs to be looked into. So that's what I would say.
We are having a healthcare summit in August, and I was talking to some of the healthcare practitioners in India, where we spoke about how EMR is the electronic medical records is very important, and that's what you stressed on. And I like to say one thing, I think from the year when you were 10 years old or maybe earlier, you were already decided that you will be in this part of this field. So I think you have a vision at a very young age. So great. It was great talking to you, Dr. Fenny. It was, a
Thank you.
short conversation, but very wonderful. A lot of takeaways. So thank you for your time for this.
Fantastic.